Lucia Cossu, voiceteacher here with our episode. I will not say any more weekly episode. As you've seen, this year, as I said, I'm pretty busy, but I will go on. We are with, I told you, of a question. Some of you will think, what the heck of a question is it? What does it mean? Look at this photo, and I hope they don't have a problem from Essential Anatomy. That is my app for anatomical things. I will just make you see a little and then you search for it. Okay, so respect the copyright of Essential Anatomy, and if you are a singer, teacher, take the app. Pay for the app and take the app. It's a great value and it's really good. Okay, so the thing is, you see the system and you say, oh, it's the respiratory system. It is our vocal system. We have all that we need to produce a voice. I must be honest. Yes, it is true. Yes, it is true. My point is, do we want to be all? And we take the violin and look at those photos. It is a building of a violin. You have the link to do it because it's quite fun. And also you can follow me better with this parallel that I'm doing. That of course it's not perfect, but it can be pretty eyes-opening, I hope, at least. The thing is, what is it doing? It's putting the chords into the structure of the violin. And when we think of building a violin, we think of building of the body of the violin and all the pieces. Then we take the chords. What is the material of the chords? Can be of different kind. Historically, it was from the gut of, I think, sheep or goats. But it was the skin of the gut. So it is a biological element that has a complete different, or it was, complete different structure and nature into the materials than the body of the instrument. And then I tell you, when you think of the violin, do you think only of the violin? Or are you thinking also what you need to get in contact with the chords, to make the chords play? The hair of the bow. And again, the bow has a structure with a material similar to the body of the violin. But it is not this structure getting directly playing the chords of the violin. It is something similar to the chords of the violin. Similar in what? Into the acoustic characteristics, intensive characteristics of the materials, so that the structure is going to control part of those characteristics. Still, you have to make a vibration, because it's not just a percussion, but it is a vibration that you are going, it's an oscillation that you are going to create, so well planned that the air outside will start producing waves. That's the basic, minimal system. Are those two materials the ones with different smoothness, if we can say, comparing to the other materials of the violin? For some, absolutely yes. For others, we have to think about a nuance again. But what I wanted you to note today is, when you think of this respiratory structure, it is made of what? Smooth muscles, cartilages, as usual, connective tissue, some, I said yet, cartilages, ligaments, etc. But still, it is quite smooth. It has some parts to give stiffness in it. By itself, yes, the trachea and the tubes that go inside the lungs. But it is pretty smooth, the tube and the materials. I put there vocal ligaments and not vocal folds, because with vocal ligaments we see the part that gives most stiffness and some sort of the line of closure of the vocal folds. And the muscle is again smooth muscle, and we have a mucosal on the top and some layers in between. So again, it is pretty smooth with some parts that maintain enough stiffness for this smoothness not to be damaged too much by the passage of the air, all the movements, the efforts and the forces involved. If I tell you violin chords, vocal chords, we have just two, but they act like one. On the violin we have more, but okay, we can approximate. And the bow, you tell me, yeah, of course, it is the air from the lungs. And the lungs by themselves can produce a force, even quite strong. So we don't need the arm of the player, in this case, to create a wave that produces a sound. And this is true. I've always told you, it is absolutely true. So you say, okay, solved. We know voice. No, this time it wasn't. It does sometimes, but I have to take my thumb down. Okay, this is the minimal. Just the minimal. If we want to get on with the comparisons, the bow is usually, those are the violin chords, 90 degrees. Always 90 degrees? I cannot change it. Yes, I can change it. Can we change into the position of the vocal folds relative to the breath? Yes, and it is something that we learn to do even very well. Also said, the larynx and parts of the larynx are going to move so that there will be some part of the pressure that will be still 90 degrees. As subcomponents of this pressure, they are not going to be 90 degrees anymore. And it is quite important so that your vocal folds again are not damaged, and you can use some pressure to obtain what you want. And this is again one. So we have a bow that into its air logic, we can say, yet it can move as the bow and provide a force that is quite effective for the vocal folds. Yes. But then we say, okay, but we have a bow, we have the chords. How can we have the different notes? Your left hand. Your left hand. What does it correspond? I didn't put in here. But for today, since I jumped 1 week, I say, okay, I didn't put in here, but we can reason about what it is that actually activates the change of the pitch into the vocal notes, into the vocal folds, sorry. Yeah, we can go by pressure, but it's not optimized. It's not the best. It is stylistic, and you have to do with a lot of attention and care. Also said, it's not the usual, and it's not the optimal, and it's not what we learn to do when we really sing. We do it what? We have a structure, a musculoskeletal structure, exactly as the hand, which it is the larynx. So again, and the larynx, where is it? Into the respiratory system. And you see there a bone. Did I left it there? I don't remember. Hyoid bone. And you see the larynx, which is quite stiff. So it has all the structures as in a hand, and again, it starts smoother, and in the time gets calcified. Also said, you don't find it as a hand, it has an evolution that is longer than the hand, so you have much more elasticity of the materials into the system until a certain age, which is a medium of what it happens, and then in the time it becomes less flexible because it gets calcified. But in ancient time we used to do, the voice is maturing, and we love that because when you use it well, more flavor, more deepness, more emotion, more dramaticity, a stronger sound, a less smooth sound if you want. That is the young sound. It can be also high-pitched, but it is a different characteristic of sound into the materials by themselves. And then we have the left hand. Again, we are approximating because the violin has the chords, one hand, and thus we are unilateral, two unilateral beings. Also said, all this is with the conjunction of two parts, two lungs, two tubes, one trachea, one larynx, but the muscles in the larynx are paired. There is one who is unpaired. All the others, they are paired. In their action, those paired muscles, since we are too unilateral, we can have some difficulty into recruiting enough both sides to get to enough competency and skillfulness and force and functionality, if you want. For this modern technique as the SRTV, they're excellent and they work really well on that. Some set rigs of the past, etc. But it's not the point I want to do. This is, again, it is stylistic and it is tools fantastic that we have yet. But this year I want to talk mostly about the instrument itself. In the instrument itself, we approximate, because with the violin, the function of the left hand is exactly the function that we have by the larynx. Even if for the larynx we must become enough symmetrical, etc., etc., etc. Okay. But the thing is, okay, and we have all. Nearly enough. Nearly enough. But I ask you, if you have left hand, chords, the hair of the bow, they have some part of the structure because we have the trachea and the tubes, so some part of the structure is there. Yeah, it's true. Why do you buy a violin? What purpose are you serving by buying a violin? I don't mean that you have to buy the violin, because you can still take the chords, put them in some way. And we have the larynx to do that because it's the left hand, but also we have the hyoid bone, so they are yet attached to be stiffened, elongated, and make the pitches pretty well. So you say, but I don't need the violin. And my question for today is, what does a violin, the structure of the violin does that the chords do not? And also, do you really have all the bow, if you have the hair of the bow, that can activate the chords? Or we have to think that the structure outside, not outside, around, can be of some importance for some reasons. Think about for this week. But again, yes. Especially if you sing by microphone, because you will have the effects of the body of the violin that can be done by the technology. Absolutely. It is what I call usually colloquial voice. Yeah, no judgment into. No judgment, no pun intended. Absolutely. Fantastic voice, a fantastic career with that. But I'm just saying, is it all we want? Think about And for today we have a second point. A second point which is quite into the news. I asked, the question is not on the person. I have absolutely nothing against Ken Tamplin. I have not really idea of how good it's his. I think it has a value. I think he's a great singer and fantastic singer and a serious professional. But I want to make another point, which it is quite in the times, and it is something that can be tricky to understand before you reach a certain level by naivete, inexperience, many reasons. Also, how the internet evolved and how our work has evolved. Some of those comments, all pretending, nobody really doing. It's how we do in the business. What a shame, cannot trust anybody. He's excellent, I don't know anything else. Wing of Pegasus, yeah, Wing of Pegasus, yeah, I'm on your side. I really appreciate your videos. Why asking about a fake? It's not just a fake. It's a simplification if you think it's just a fake. So deceived. Yeah, deception is correct. It's correct from my professional point of view. Also said, if you want something of quality, you have to educate yourself and get to a point in which the message that arrives is not so simplified that cannot be true anymore. I cannot tell you, I teach you to get to Olympic Games, just get to the app. No. I can get you in a better place with an app. I can get you to really better place, not to the Olympic Games. Nobody can, without an individualized program and more nuanced approaches and planning, also said with style. You start from where we have to do an assessment, not just with me. There are many tools to do that, but you have to do an assessment. You can do by yourself, you can do by reality, you can do by experience, you can do by repertoire. There are many ways of doing the assessment. It is not obligated to make voice lessons with someone for a longer time, even if it was what was preached as a mentoring thing for a long time. And it worked pretty well, also said fantastically. And it still works pretty well. What I mean by nuancing. First thing, I had the idea to move to New York 12 years ago. And when I was there, I had some jobs interviews. And one excellent. I really enjoyed it. It was really a tough interview, but when it is tough, it's just straight and we get to the point. I prefer that. I really want that. I don't want not tough interviews. They're fake, they're not nice. We don't understand each other. I prefer the straight, tough, or honest ones. He asked me, why do you have this arrogance of teaching repertoire and style that you have not sent? I made a big smile and I told him, it is a question that us as teachers, and voice teachers especially, we cannot avoid, even when we teach the same repertoire and even when we teach the same repertoire on similar voices. Because still, the individual in front is a different individual, is a different instrument on many plans. We have some things in common, that is what we teach, but mostly we have not in common. What it means? It means that practically, when I make the examples for my students, I don't sound well. And it's better if I don't sound well. Because simply, I'm not making the examples to sound well. And I don't make the examples in my repertoire, in my voice, in my style, in my understanding, in my creativity. We are smarter than that. I make the gestures that my student, my singer, my artist can take from me to get to his place. I cannot sound well. I don't have to sound well. So if you think in a little reductionist way, I go to the teacher, I want to become the copy of, on some sort, yes, because it can give you really something of flavor, but it is not a teacher for a longer term and to bring you where you are. This is something that is not that obvious anymore. Also said, I know the example for the person in front of me to sound better at the level at which he is or she is or them he are for that moment to make progress. If you are only concerned to see what you want to be and then to copy it, first you will be deceived because you are better than that and you don't want to be a copy. Second, you ask for fake. Because even the best one in the world will never be you and will not show what you want. Also the best in the world ages. And age does what it does everywhere. I'm 53. I'm aging too. And, okay, it's not that important. It's not that important. Listen to that. In my life, there's been heartache and pain. I don't know if I can face it again. To change this lonely life, I wanna know what love is. It doesn't need to fake. We have the ears. We hear that he is aging. But it's him. And he still has it. So, the problem is that if you want really just something that works always for all your life, so deceived. Yes. Just because you're simplifying how we progress and how we learn. So a bit, when you want to learn something, take responsibility that it is a path and it is a nuanced path. The same thing when I said, do I look the part? Michael Boyle had to say that. He trains the best in the world. He is not going to perform what he asks his athletes. Why? It has no sense. He can teach them to be themselves, maintain to be themselves, eventually better themselves, eventually heal themselves, eventually maintain. As my job, as the job of those serious. So we nuance, because it is nuanced. Another thing, another point. Today 3, yeah, I know. Music is a planet where the fruit of good and evil hasn't been eaten. It's a planet you travel to when heavy to breathe. Music is the only planet with windows you can shut on pain and burden. Music is the only planet a problem not shared is totally solved. Just use those headphones and travel far. All right. To me, not the last phrase. Not the last phrase. No, sorry. I'm really... Whoo! Still this... Be passive, I make you travel. We are human beings. We want to travel. Travel is active. Travel is active. This is the problem I have with some way of thinking and some way of that, what I call decadence, since some decades. You understand and you travel if you listen. You understand and you travel if you listen, if in parallel you do the job. You play, you sing, you do noise, you learn to travel, you travel yourself. You travel yourself. Otherwise, you are going to activate something that is not the true travel. And I think the precedent point comes to this. Comes to the fact that you have the idea that you are educated and you really travel because you listen. You are passive. You are listening passively. Active is completely different. Active is completely different. And it is so much more rewarding. So much more rewarding. So get to listen, but get active. We are creators. We are all creators. These are things for which true artists, they are the myths. If I follow them forever and I'm a fan, I share the same universe. You see that there is that universe. You share that universe if you are active, no matter the level. No matter the level. Well done, not faked. That's why when they do with piano, pi pa 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 pi pa 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 pi ri ra ra pa 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 pa. Okay. Pi pa 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 pi pa pi ri ra pa 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 pi ra ra pa 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 pum pum pa pa. Not with the click of the metronome, with the timing, with the meaning of the phrase. With eventually controlling, then when you are good, that you can put that into the metronome. Not you get beep 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 beep, because this is the death. This is being passive, and it is the pushing, and it is you are worse than AI, and you are not getting to what is so rewarding into this universe. Get active. Have friends band. Sing for yourself. Put out on Instagram. Do things. Don't fake it. You don't need to fake it. Just do it. And enjoy. Take inspiration before by that to become active. They are not the artists and the other. They are those who live as artists and choose and get to the point in which they are renowned artists. Yes, that's reality. It is true. The doing is what we share and what we preach, what we love. And it's fantastic. And it brings you to this universe. And then you travel by the energy of the artist. But you are active traveling. Okay. Have a very good week. See you next time.